What's going on, guys? JSGC here, and we are here for another Manchester City video. Today I want to talk about Rodri. Before I do crack on with this video though, make sure, like always, if you are enjoying the content, do subscribe to my channel. It is free to subscribe. Also, don't forget social media links, they're in the description. If you want to go and follow me on my Twitter, Instagram and TikTok, email also in the description to go and hit me up for any sponsorships for any videos or any general business inquiries. Do leave a thumbs up. Do also let me know your thoughts in the comments below, including how will Manchester City cope without Rodri for the season. So, if you guys aren't aware, Rodri went off injured against Arsenal. There were some rumours circulating yesterday morning and afternoon about the severity of Rodri's injury, and then we've had further clarification put on this injury by reliable sources, including that of David Ornstein, who, to me, just never wrong, that we've had word that Rodri has picked up ligament damage in his knee, and he is going to miss the whole rest of this season for Manchester City, which the impact that's going to have on the squad, the impact that that's going to have for Rodri himself, the impact that that's going to have on Manchester City and our potential success for the season, it's all going to have a knock-on effect, and we're going to talk about that in this video. So firstly, I want to speak firstly about the impact that it's having on the player, on Rodri himself, because everyone keeps is panicking. Everyone's thinking about the what's it going to do about Manchester City's squad, and what's the knock-on effect going to be about Manchester City wanting to win the biggest and best trophies on offer this season, including the Premier League and the Champions League. But no one's really talking about the knock-on effect it's having on Rodri himself, because he's in the prime of his life. He's playing the best football that he's ever played. It might be the best football that he's ever going to play, because there's no guarantee that when he recovers from this injury that he's going to come back and hit the heights of what he's hit with Manchester City over the last couple of seasons. Getting to that level is going to take a lot of time, and these serious injuries have huge impacts on the players and their recovery, and also for their success and them going forward and them hitting them heights once more. It's going to have a knock-on effect, and because of that, I think Manchester City are going to wait on a potential new contract. He was on the verge of becoming one of the highest paid players at Manchester City and moving right to the top of the pay scale, matching a wage that's going to be level with Kevin De Bruyne, and that of just under where Erling Haaland's at. Now, Erling Haaland's on his own different level. Man City have had to go leaps and bounds to keep Erling Haaland at the club. Everybody else works on the wage structure, including that of Kevin De Bruyne, who's right at the top because he's been Manchester City's biggest and best player for numerous amounts of years. Kevin De Bruyne has been there, done that, worn the t-shirt, and he's very much, to me, a Manchester City legend who deserves to be at the top of the pay scale. And Rodri, he's getting there, and he was set to go to the top of Manchester City's pay scale. There was a big discussion happening just a week or so ago about the serious interest coming in from Spain, from Real Madrid, about just how much money they were going to pay to maybe make a transfer happen. And I would say that all of that talk now is going to be on hold. The only focus for City will be supporting Rodri through his recovery, and he's going to miss the rest of this season. I'd be surprised if we see Rodri within the next maybe 10 months or so. I reckon the injury, we're probably looking near enough a year out, and for him to get back up to that level, it's going to take a lot of time. I'm not just talking a few weeks of training. All of a sudden Rodri's back and you're expecting him to be absolutely world class and the best central defensive midfielder. It takes a lot of time to be able to gel and embed yourself and get back to where you want to be, if he ever does, of course, get back to there. So it's important for Manchester City to show that support, to help Rodri get to the best level that he can be at post-recovery, and that has to be the focus amongst everything else. That's the most important thing, the recovery of Rodri's injury, and making sure that his knee is better, that his knee, this ligament damage doesn't become a recurring injury, because if it does, it has massive implications on the rest of his career. That's how serious this injury is. Now, thinking about other things post Rodri, of course, and thinking about where we go through the rest of this season with not having Rodri here as part of the squad, Manchester City do have options. Kovacic, John Stones, these are the two most important players for me who are going to help cover for Rodri, along with İlkay Gündoğan. You may see Akanji helping to support in defensive midfield, and Rico Lewis really coming into his own. So these are the options, these are the players, and they're all very good players who can help Manchester City. And I posted on Twitter yesterday about my concerns about Manchester City's business that we did in the summer in not seriously addressing the Rodri situation. Rodri was one step away from begging Manchester City to find a suitable alternative for him so he can be rotated, so he can be rested, so he's got competitive competition for his spot, so he can have the best recovery going through the upcoming season. And Manchester City have helped with adding İlkay Gündoğan to our squad, and we've got competitive competition in our squad. But when it comes to a like-for-like player for Rodri, we don't have a like-for-like player. We brought Calvin Phillips in to be that player, struggled for game time because he couldn't displace Rodri, and Rodri wasn't picking up any injuries that he's had to leave, and that's happened to be on loan. And I think Calvin Phillips was probably waiting for, I know it sounds quite sinister, but he was probably waiting for a serious injury for Rodri for him to be given an opportunity and a run of games to showcase what he can do, and it just never happened, and we've already let him go. We don't have that option. Our options are Kovacic, who can do a very good job, Gündoğan, who can do a very good job, John Stones, who can do a very good job, Rico Lewis can help fill in there, as can Manuel Akanji. We've got enough options for the season. The problem is these players that I just named, including the likes of Akanji and John Stones, the defenders, the centre-backs, we are not stacked when it comes to defenders. One or two injuries to any of our players in defence and all of a sudden we're stretched. You're seeing it at the moment with Joško Vardiol because Nathan Ake is out injured. We don't have another option to come in on that left-hand side unless it's Manuel Akanji. Manuel Akanji, thankfully, can play right across that back line. My fear is an Akanji injury, touch wood, that doesn't happen. We don't have them rotated options across the defence. You're then right down to the bare bones with where we're at, and we're only, what, 6-7 weeks into the start of the season. City should have been thinking seriously about the depth that they've got. They've got players that can help cover with young players. Wilson Esperon's going to be an important player, I feel now, in defence to provide that option for Manchester City, as is Nico O'Reilly as well. He's got to be another option in midfield for City, and I suspect we'll be seeing more of Jacob Wright, and I expect these players to be getting minutes for Manchester City. It won't be regular minutes, it won't be regular starts, it won't be the big important Premier League games and Champions League games, but I'm expecting to see a lot more of them than what we have seen over the last few weeks, because it's going to take Man City as a squad to help fill that void of Rodri. We are not a one-player team, but you mark my words, losing Rodri for the season is a huge blow to Pep Guardiola and Manchester City for the upcoming season. Anyone is going to feel the impact of a potential Ballon d'Or winner not being available for the whole season. Arsenal, they'll be rubbing their hands at this right now. I'm not going to sit here and say that they've deliberately targeted Rodri, because I don't think they've deliberately targeted Rodri. I think their plan, their game plan, was to rough Manchester City up to make it a physical game. They feel like their best way of getting a result at the Etihad is to go physical, to hurt Manchester City, to ensure that they're in a position to try and take some points off us, because they'll do and scrape and scrap at anything to ensure that they are sitting first in the Premier League and not Manchester City. Do I blame Arsenal for their approach? Absolutely not. Do I think Man City could have done more to protect the players? I don't think that they could have done any more, unless you start wrapping players up in cotton wool. Not going to happen. It's up to the man in charge on the pitch, the referee, to protect the players. Michael Oliver did a very poor job of managing that game of football on Sunday. He didn't protect the players, and we've ultimately ended up with a very serious injury to one of our players. Now, if this had been our approach to go physical, could have been Arsenal on the receiving end, and we wouldn't hear the end of Man City injuring a key player for Arsenal. Injuries are going to happen to all squads, so I'm not going to use that as an excuse. You go into your summer window, you add to your team, you add to your squad, and you make sure that your squad is capable of competing for all trophies on offer, and you've got to have them options. It's why I said it was so important when Julian Alvarez left City that you have a contingency plan for Erling Haaland, because I feel like now we're a serious Erling Haaland injury away from near enough disaster for Manchester City. I think right now we can cope. It will be very difficult to cope without Rodri, but we can cope. We've proven through the first few games before the first international break we can cope without Rodri, but we were playing every week, not every 3 to 4 days. You've got to have them rotated options as this season goes on, and it's a very long season. This season doesn't just end in May. This season goes into June and into July with the Club World Cup as well. We're playing more games than ever. That's why Rodri was speaking about players striking. Everyone's mimicking and making comments, and be careful what you wish for. But he's right. You think about what he's saying, and he's right. The Man City squad now is going to feel the wear and tear, and I feel like Man City should have been making sure that their squad, I know Pep likes a nice small squad to work with, but you've got to think about the amount of games that you're playing, and you've got to think about having them options. We don't have that contingency to Erling Haaland. We don't have that contingency for Rodri. And heading into the season, when these were two very important positions to look at, once Julian Alvarez had left, we've chosen not to add in them positions, and that is crucial, absolutely crucial. It's to a point now where Man City, to me, have to dip into the winter market. We don't like dipping into that January transfer market. We've got to, as far as I'm concerned. We need them options. We've made over £100 million of profit in net spend when it comes to our transfers. We've not added a defensive midfielder, that number 6, number 8 option. You've got Gundogan that can help do that. That's great. Gundogan's pushing on for 34 years old. Kovacic is over 30 years old right now, and injury prone. John Stones is injury prone as well. A couple of injuries to the rest of that midfield, and all of a sudden Man City just don't have them options. That's how serious this is for City. Not time for panic stations, but City need to be ensuring that they're protecting the rest of the squad, that no more injuries happen to any more of our players, in particular any serious injuries, and in particular ensuring that we're finding a way to protect Erling Haaland up top as well. You take him out of that City squad and all of a sudden the rest of the Premier League teams will smell blood, and they will be pushing, and this will be a long, hard season for Manchester City, and that's without even thinking about what's happening off the pitch with the 115 charges. So to me, disastrous news losing Rodri. Not the end of the world. I described it yesterday as a massive blow, but not a fatal blow to Manchester City. We need to be protecting our players. We need to help Rodri recover and regroup and come back even stronger. We need to be working on that new contract whilst he's out injured, that once the recovery is done, the contract's there ready to be signed to get rid of that interest from Real Madrid. He'll have less than 2 years left on his deal once he's back from Manchester City, so we're going to be struggling for asking for a world record fee when it comes to Rodri, and just come back from a serious injury as well. Real Madrid will be haggling if they do want to make that move. I'm expecting them to make that move, so City need to be really careful about that. Rodri wants to win the Ballon d'Or. I don't know what this means for the potential bid for him to win the Ballon d'Or. I hope that he does win the Ballon d'Or. He deserves the Ballon d'Or as far as I'm concerned. He is, to me, the best player in the world, and when you lose the best player in the world in your squad, you're always going to feel the impact. But it's a long, brutal, hard season, not just for us, but for everybody else as well. Are City out of any of the trophy hunts? Absolutely not. Is this a big blow? Yes. Can Manchester City still win the Premier League and Champions League without Rodri? Well, to do that, you need a tactician. You need the best manager in the world. And we do have the best manager in the world. Am I ruling Manchester City out? Absolutely not. And if anybody out there is ruling Manchester City out because we've got an injury to a player, then more fool you, because Pep Guardiola loves proving people wrong. He is a world beater. He is a champion, and that is for a reason. I will put my faith into Pep Guardiola. Man City's hierarchy and those above Pep can do more in terms of adding to the squad. I hope we can do a little bit of business in January to help with that depth and have them options there for City, because if we don't, by the time it gets to February, March time, fatigue will become a big problem for City when you're going so long with having players out with serious injuries. Oscar Bob out until, what, 2025? Rodri out for the season. Not a great start to the season when it comes to the squad. We are still top of the Premier League. We've got a lot of hard work to do. We've got a game tonight against Watford, win that game, head into the match against Newcastle away, see if we can win that as well and showcase to everybody that we're Manchester City, we mean business, and we're here to do what we do. Win football games and win trophies. So there we go, they're my thoughts. Do let me know your thoughts, guys, in the comments below. Also, don't forget to leave a thumbs up. Do subscribe, it is free to subscribe. Press that red button, press the bell and put your push notifications on. Social media links, they're in the description too if you want to go and follow me on my Twitter, Instagram and TikTok. Email also in the description as well if you want to hit me up for any sponsorships for any videos or any general business inquiries. And I'll be back again this evening for my live watch along of Manchester City's game against Watford in the Carabao Cup. And the league could be doing more to help our players as well. Playing 2 games in the, 48 hours is absolutely ridiculous. Thank you for the protection from the Premier League. Thank you for the protection from the Football Association as well. Much appreciated. Thanks for watching. Peace. Ciao for now.